What's up, agents? Zer here, welcome back to the lab, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to use the Tellraw command inside of Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Now, I actually did cover this command briefly in a previous video, like 3 useful commands or something along those lines. I don't fully remember, but I will go ahead and say is that it actually is a lot more useful, and there's a lot more to this command than I did in that other video, and it's actually pretty useful for a lot of different uses. So let's go ahead and get started, and the first thing I'm going to do in this particular video is I'm going to cover the difference between the say command and the Tellraw command. This is actually pretty useful to know. So in this particular case, I have it set to say welcome to the lab, and if you're doing this without a command like you were doing it in the normal command line, you would obviously need the slash in the command box. It doesn't really need it. And as you can tell, I have it set to say command up in the top left. That's just the title of the command block. And if I go and press this, it's going to go ahead and put into the chat as you would actually expect. And if you were to do this yourself instead of through the command block, it would actually display your username, which is pretty useful. Now, as far as the Tellraw command is concerned, this is what it looks like, and you can already tell this looks a lot more complicated, but I will try to explain this as best I can in just a quick moment. I just want to briefly show off what the difference is between the two, but suffice to say, if I go ahead and press this, it literally only displays the text that you want it to, which is why Tellraw is actually so much more useful than the say command. And I'm going to go ahead and break down how this actually works. Hopefully I explained this well enough for you guys to understand. I cannot promise anything, but I will try my best. So as you can tell, it starts off with Tellraw, and then you need to go ahead and set in your indicator as to who you want to go ahead and target. In this particular case, I have it set to @A, which means, technically speaking, if there were other people on this world with me, which there are not as of right now, it would target absolutely everybody in the world. And then you can tell the rest of the actual command itself. You need to put in curly brackets and square brackets in this particular command in order for it to actually work properly. So first you need to put your curly bracket, quotes, raw text, and then end quotes, and then you need to put in your colon, and then you need to go ahead and put in square bracket, curly bracket, and then you put in quotes again, text, end quotes, and then another colon, and then in your next set of quotes, you put in whatever text you want to go ahead and display, and then end the quotes, and then you need to end all the curly and square brackets in the proper order. I realize that's a lot of explaining, but hopefully this makes some amount of sense. And as you saw earlier, it actually ran 100% fine. And there's more to this that I want to go ahead and show off. So first off, let's go ahead and show off the with argument. Now, what exactly does this mean? So I have this set to do the exact same thing, except if I go ahead and go into here, you can go ahead and tell that I actually have set up. Oh, I had a little bit of lag. I was trying to show off where it actually is located. But if we go ahead and take a look right here, we have these 2% signs S, and then we have this with argument right here, and it has 0 right here. And here's what this is going to go ahead and do. If I go ahead and run this, this is going to go ahead and run that. And something I have not shown off just yet is that this actually uses, instead of text, this uses translate. Now, I read online that supposedly using translate, this will translate whatever text you have set up to whatever language the game is currently set to. However, I did experiment with other languages. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to work correctly, and I'm not 100% sure what the problem is. However, with the case of the with argument, that will display whatever you have it set to, regardless of what it is. So, say for example, you have it set to Chinese, for example, which will use the Chinese characters. This will work with like Japanese and pretty much every other language, technically speaking. But in the case of Chinese, Japanese, whatever the other languages technically are in that context, then it'll actually display the text normally that I have set up. So obviously I don't have it set up right now, but say for example, welcome to the lab would be displayed in whatever language that technically would be. Zero, on the other hand, would not. That would display normally. Hopefully that makes some amount of sense. Like I said, I couldn't figure out how to get that to work properly. Maybe I'm doing it wrong or something else. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how part of the with argument, the translate argument technique would work. And you can actually use with multiple times. So if we take a look at here, we have the same thing set up again. It says welcome to the lab, and then we see the percents again twice, and then I have 0 and Steve in this case. So I can go ahead and do that, and I'll actually go ahead and display these in the exact order that you have these set up. And again, this uses the translate portion of it. Again, supposedly this is supposed to go ahead and translate to whatever language you have set to, but again, I could not figure out why I could not get it to work. But let's go ahead and move on to the numbered with command. Now, what exactly does this mean? Well, in this particular context, it will actually go ahead and display this in whatever order you have it set up, except for the fact that you actually have to set numbers to this. So in this particular case, I have it set to the percent sign first, and then I have a 2, and then the second one is set to 1. In this particular case, it's going to go to Steve first, and then to 0 because of the way I have this set up. So if we go ahead and run this, as you can tell, that worked exactly as it's supposed to. Now, last but not least, we have 2 more, which there's actually a selector argument that I'm going to go ahead and cover. However, there's actually a little detail that I want to mention about that in just a quick moment. But we also have the option to add lines to this. So if I go ahead and do this, this is what is actually displayed. And here's what the actual command looks like. As you can tell, I have these backslashes with an N on it. So let me go ahead and show you guys what exactly I'm talking about. So it's this section right here. It's from right here to right here. This part is completely ignored. However, what it does, as you probably saw, is that it separates individual lines, which is actually pretty useful if you want to set things up in a specific way. This is how you would go about doing it. And then last but not least, the selector argument, which is why I said I wanted to mention something about. For whatever reason, this does not work as of right now on Bedrock Edition. I am currently running 1.12.0, and by the way, I am not in the beta. I feel like I have to mention this from here on out because people ask. And there's a chance that a later update will add this in, but as of right now, it does not work. And I'll show you guys what it does, at least as of right now, and then I'll go ahead and tell you guys what it's supposed to do. So if I go ahead and run this, this is literally all it does. It says, welcome to the lab. However, here's the problem. What selector is supposed to do is it's supposed to target whatever player it's set to and display their username. But as I said, it doesn't seem to work, at least as of right now. Hopefully Mojang will add this later in the future, because I do know for a fact this does actually work on Java Edition. At least from what I've read, it works on Java Edition. But yeah, Bedrock Edition doesn't seem to work, at least as of right now. Hopefully Mojang adds this in the future. But yeah, that's literally all I could find as far as the Tellraw command is concerned. There's probably more to it that I haven't actually found as of right now, and I apologize if I did. And something else I want to mention is that supposedly there is a way to go ahead and import some text into like books, signs, and apparently this also somehow works with the title through a Tellraw command. However, that one I still have to do a little bit more research because I don't understand that one fully. But yeah, that's all I'm going to go ahead and do for this particular video, because that's all I've really found out. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. One more, make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zer0's. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys later.